What if one sentence could shatter everything you thought you knew about love, greatness, and masculinity? Women are nothing but machines for producing children. Napoleon Bonaparte didn't whisper that. He declared it cold, calculated, and unapologetic. And while the modern ear recoils in outrage, the deeper sting isn't in the sexism, it's in the mirror it holds up. Because behind that brutal line lies an ancient truth. Greatness and comfort do not coexist, not in war, not in leadership, not in love. Napoleon was not a man of subtlety. He carved empires from blood and ambition. He didn't beg for understanding. He conquered without it, and when he loved, he did so with the same fire that moved armies. But Josephine didn't wait for him. She didn't respect the storm. She fled it because the truth is, most people, especially in love, don't want a force of nature. They want safety, predictability, presence. This is the shock you were never prepared for, that your greatness might not make you more lovable, it might make you more alone. Napoleon didn't say that quote to be cruel. He said it because he had looked love in the eye and realized it could not survive the fire he was born to walk through. And if you're a man chasing legacy, you need to understand this. Love may not follow you into the storm, but greatness never waits for permission. Great men are not raised in comfort, they are forged in fire. Their minds are battlegrounds, restless, obsessive, haunted by a hunger that sleep cannot silence and love cannot satisfy. To the outside world, they may appear cold, distant, or even ruthless. But what lies beneath is a furnace burning with vision, responsibility, and the terrifying weight of purpose. A great man doesn't ask if the world is ready for him. He moves anyway, and in doing so, he disrupts everything soft and familiar. Napoleon wasn't just a military genius, he was a case study in obsession. While others sought balance, he sought dominance of thought, of land, of legacy, and that made him impossible to hold. Not because he lacked love, but because he couldn't be tamed by it. The very traits that made him historic, his drive, his focus, his refusal to yield, made him unbearable to those seeking emotional security. You must understand this. Greatness is not compatible with constant availability. The man who answers every call, soothes every doubt, pauses for every storm, he is not building an empire. He is being pulled from it. The nature of a great man is isolation. Not because he chooses loneliness, but because few can endure the intensity of his flame. And so, step by step, he walks farther from the crowd into the wilderness of legacy, where comfort dies and immortality begins. He doesn't make waves. He doesn't lead. He doesn't burn with vision or keep you up at night with the weight of impossible questions. He is the mediocre man, gentle, predictable, and always available. And in a world terrified of discomfort, he thrives. Society has quietly crowned him king. Not because of what he builds, but because of what he lacks. He doesn't challenge. He doesn't demand silence to think. He doesn't disappear into focus or sacrifice today for a vision no one else understands. Instead, he orbits her. His identity is not forged by fire, it's shaped by her moods, her needs, her sense of safety. And for that reason, he is adored, not deeply, but dependably. Modern relationships are built on this template. Emotional accessibility has replaced ambition. Constant reassurance has taken the place of purpose. And men who dare to live for something beyond the relationship are cast as distant, cold, even toxic. The rise of the mediocre man is not just cultural, it's psychological. He exists because he's manageable, containable, a man without sharp edges, without sacred boundaries. He is loved not for his strength, but for his softness, not for what he stands for, but for how easily he bends. But here's the hidden cost: he will never be truly respected. Because deep down, even those who choose him know, safety is not leadership, stability is not greatness, and love without awe eventually dries up. They don't betray you because you're weak. They betray you because you remind them of everything they are not. That's the betrayal of greatness, not a dagger from your enemies, but the slow erosion of loyalty from those who once claimed to love you. Napoleon bled for his empire. He sacrificed warmth for war, intimacy for vision, and while he wrote desperate letters to Josephine, pled for her affection, begged for her faithfulness, she drifted. Not because he didn't love her, but because his love wasn't soft. It wasn't domestic. It didn't orbit. It consumed. And here lies the tragic paradox. The greater a man becomes, the more he is punished for it in the realm of love. His focus becomes absence. His silence feels like distance. His intensity misread as arrogance, because to the unprepared soul, the fire of a man on a mission doesn't feel like passion, it feels like abandonment. So the betrayal begins, subtle at first, emotional withdrawal. Resentment disguised as concern, then disloyalty. Not just in action, but in energy. She begins to shrink him to size, tame the storm, dull the edge. And when that fails, she leaves, not because he failed her, but because his greatness exposed her comfort. This is the cost of choosing legacy over ease. The more you build, the more you lose those unwilling to rise with you. And the man who understands this stops chasing approval, he turns inward and continues alone. Not bitter, just awake. In today's world, the battlefield has changed, but the war remains. The swords are gone, the thrones have crumbled, but the echoes of what Napoleon faced still roar in the silence of the modern man. Because what we call love today often disguises itself as comfort, and what we call equality is too often emotional conformity. The ambitious man, relentless, visionary, consumed, still walks alone, not because women have changed, but because comfort has become religion. A man who disappears into his work is no longer mysterious. He's emotionally unavailable. A man who refuses to explain his silence is no longer strong. He's cold. In a culture obsessed with validation, greatness becomes the enemy. Social media feeds are filled with curated fantasies, soft men performing affection, docile lovers offering emotional safety, predictable, pliable, forgettable. Because in this age, presence is currency, emotional availability is king. But the man who vanishes into the darkness to build, to bleed, to become something more. He is feared, misunderstood, abandoned. And so, modern men shrink too fit. They dim the fire. They apologize for obsession. They pretend their mission can wait, but inside, they rot. Because the soul of a man was never designed for emotional captivity. It was forged in storms. Napoleon's tragedy is not just history, it's prophecy. A warning to every man who dares to rise. If you seek comfort, you will be loved. If you seek greatness, you will be alone. Choose wisely. The unchosen man is not weak. He is not broken. He is simply too much for a world that craves less. You've seen him. He's the man who burns with silent ambition, whose eyes hold storms most will never wither. He doesn't chase attention, doesn't soften his edge to be more palatable. He moves with purpose, not apology, and because of that he's left behind. Not because he lacked love to give, but because his love came wrapped in silence, in sacrifice, in the terrifying demand for depth. He wasn't looking for someone to entertain. He was looking for someone to build with, and that, in a culture addicted to comfort, is unforgivable. This is the man who gets passed over not for being lesser, but for refusing to shrink. Women say they want greatness, but when it stands before them unapologetic, unyielding, they flinch. Because greatness doesn't bend, it doesn't pause for insecurity. It doesn't stop to explain itself. The unchosen man is not bitter, he's forged. Hardened by the fire of rejection, not rooted in who he is, but in what he demands in return: truth, commitment, growth. He knows that to be loved as he is, he must be chosen not for comfort, but for the chaos he carries and the clarity he offers. And if he walks alone, it is not because no one wanted him. It is because he refused to be less just to be wanted. Romance, as you've been taught to believe in it, is a mirage. A carefully scripted fantasy crafted not to lead you to truth, but to sedate you. The movies told you that love conquers all. The books whisper that the right woman will heal your wounds. But they lied, not maliciously, just conveniently. Because the truth doesn't sell. The truth burns. Romance, in its modern form, is not about depth. It's about dopamine. It rewards chemistry over compatibility, ease over endurance. It makes you believe that if it's real, it should feel effortless, but greatness in love or life never feels effortless. It costs, it demands, and most are unwilling to pay. The illusion keeps you chasing a feeling, not building a future. You search for someone who gets you instead of someone who challenges you. You confuse vulnerability with volatility, passion with chaos. You fall in love with potential and mistake comfort for connection, and by the time reality sets in, you're too entangled to leave. Or worse, you shrink to fit the illusion. The great man must strip away the fantasy. He must understand that love is not a refuge from his mission, it is a crucible that tests it. Real connection requires the whole people, not the broken halves completing each other. And if that kind of love seems rare, it is, but that's what makes it real. Because anything less isn't romance, it's seduction dressed in sentiment. And it will destroy you slowly while whispering that it's saving you. There comes a moment, a brutal, blinding moment when the illusion shatters. The man who once bent, accommodated, sacrificed, stops. Not because he's bitter, but because he's awake. He no longer confuses codependence for love, no longer mistakes his silence for strength, no longer believes he must shrink to keep the peace. He realizes the truth. He was never building a partnership, he was holding up a fantasy. This is the man's awakening. It doesn't come gently. It rips through him. Maybe it comes after betrayal. Maybe after years of emotional erosion. Or maybe it arrives in the quiet when he looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize the man staring back, but when it comes, it's irreversible. He sees the pattern. He sees the cost. He sees that he traded his purpose for permission, his mission for maintenance, his fire for approval, and he wants it back. This is the rebirth of masculine clarity, not dominance, not control, but sovereign focus. He stops apologizing for his ambition. He stops explaining his solitude. He stops compromising his edge. Because he finally understands that his power is not the problem, it's the foundation. The awakened man doesn't chase love that demands he dull his sword. He seeks only what honors it. He doesn't need to be understood. He needs to be true. And once he tastes that truth, nothing, no touch, no promise, no fantasy will ever seduce him back into sleep. There comes a moment in every man's journey when the path splits quietly, ruthlessly. One direction leads back into the arms of comfort, compromise, and emotional sedation, the other into solitude, risk, and unshakable purpose. This is the final choice. And no one can make it for you. After awakening, a man doesn't just see the truth, he must act on it. He must choose whether he will betray himself again for connection or walk forward alone into the wilderness of greatness. The stakes are no longer abstract now, they live in every decision, every yes, every no. Every silence held or truth spoken. To return is easy. You'll be praised for being softer, more agreeable, more emotionally available, but that praise is poison dressed as intimacy. It costs you your fire. It costs you your soul. To move forward is brutal. It means disappointing people. It means letting go of fantasies. It means standing firm when the world begs you to bend. But it also means becoming the man you were meant to be, not loved for his comfort, but respected for his clarity. A man no longer ruled by his need to be chosen, but by his vow to never abandon himself again. This is where the story turns, not with applause, but with resolve. You don't just wake up, you rise. And you never kneel again. Most men live blind to the cost of their own potential, traded for comfort, sacrificed for approval. But today, you saw the pattern, you saw the price, and now you hold the power to choose differently. If this video cracked something open inside you, don't let it close. Like, share, and subscribe for more truth that burns through illusion. You were never meant to be ordinary, so here's the question. Will you choose greatness, even if it means walking alone?